going on there, ladies and gents and YouTube? This is my Selesnya Trostani, Selesnya's voice deck. So first, I'm gonna show the forest. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 of them. So there's 10 of those. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 planes. And then for the multicolored mana, so I have wooded foothills, a windswept heath, a flooded strand, a command tower, a Savanna, temple garden, Sunpetal grove, Canopy vista, temple of plenty, secluded steppe, tranquil thicket, ancient tomb. I know it's gold bordered. The cringe. Mirrorpool, Reliquary tower. So those are the lands. So now we're going to go over sorceries. So for sorceries, I have Green Sun Zenith, Wrath of God, Triumph of the Hordes. I'm that guy. Rishkar's Expertise. It's pretty cool because Rishkar's Expertise lets me draw cards equal to the greatest power among creatures I control, and then play a 5 converted mana cost thing for free. So I can either play, a creature, or I can play like Triumph of the Hordes for free. It's a pretty cool card. I really enjoy it in this deck, especially because we're making a crap ton of tokens of big creatures that we have. So it's really cool. So here is our enchantments. So we have Sylvan Library, Elemental Bond, Séance. I know it's kind of a bad card, but late game it can be really good for us, especially if we don't have cards in our hand and opponent board wipes a lot. So Greater Good, another really, one of my favorite cards. And then we have Parallel Lives because we're making tokens, and why not make double tokens? So that's a pretty cool card. Then we have MIrari's Wake. So this is kind of doubles our mana and it punts our creatures, which is something that, it's really not the greatest, but we still look for it, especially getting an extra life with Trostani. So, and then we have the Zendikar resurgent. So basically you just, draw a card for every single creature that we cast, which is pretty cool because we have a lot of creatures. And we also gain double mana, so that's really cool too. So that's the enchantments. And so for the creatures, we have Serra ascendant, Wall of Omens. We have the Vitu-ghazi guildmage. We have Wall of Blossoms. We have Sakura-tribe elder. We have Elvis Visionary. We have Farhaven elf. We have Fierce Empath. Fierce Empath is a really good card in this deck, primarily because we only have like 4 or 5 different 6-drops. So if we can pair this with a card that gives us tokens, so say for instance we pair this with Bramble Sovereign, the card that lets you pay 2, 1 and a green, you can make a token of a creature enter the battlefield. If we can make tokens of this, we can just get our big fatties really quick and just kind of win the game really early. And then Eternal Witness, obviously just getting recursion back from your graveyard. It's pretty cool. And then we have the Skullwinder, which you and opponent grab a card from your graveyard. Usually I try to use this after someone gets their graveyard wiped, so I just get like a whole crap ton of value and they don't get anything, which is a pretty cool card. It also has toughness of 3, which also goes with Trostani really well. And then Reclamation Sage, because who doesn't want to destroy a pesky artifact or enchantment? And then Wood Elves. Wood Elves is good. You know, lets you search for a forest, and it's not tapped, so you can go search for like a dual land or shock land. It's pretty cool. And then this is probably one of my favorite cards in the deck, Bramble Sovereign. It's from like pretty much the best, the best set that I think Magic has put out in a while, and that's Battle Bond, of course. And then whenever another creature enters a battlefield, you may pay 1 and a green. If you do, that creature's controller creates a token that's a copy of that creature. So this card right here, paired with any of our creatures, just like doubles them. It also lets us populate with Trostani. So, I mean, you don't have to have Trostani to win, but it's just kind of like a built-in engine. So if you do want to go off, or you do want to, you know, play Trostani, you can, but you don't necessarily have to play her to win, which is kind of the biggest thing that I see with like commander decks, is that I don't like to put all of my resources into one thing, especially my commander. If I can win without my commander, that's like the best thing possible. Then we have the Angel of Finality. That's just pretty much a 3/4 flyer that gets rid of someone's graveyard. It's also really good with Skullwinder, the card that I showed you before that lets you bring a creature back, or a card back from a graveyard, and it also lets your opponent bring one back. So you can just play this, get rid of their graveyard, play Skullwinder, and then just get like all that value and not have your opponent get any. And then we have Nylea, God of the Hunt. So it's pretty simple. Your devotion has to be 5, otherwise it's not a creature, and then you can just give you know, creatures you control, other creatures you control have trample, and then you can pump each creature that you want to pump for 4, 3, and a green, +2/+2 until the turn. Pretty cool card. Pretty much a late game finisher. Otherwise, you know, it's just a 6/6 enchantment that pretty much does not a lot, but it gives your creatures trample, which is a big thing in this deck. Restoration Angel, especially this card is especially good, especially if you want to reoccur, say for instance, ETB trigger, like Ulenvald Hydra or Sylvan Reclamation, or you want to play Reclamation Sage or anything that has ETB. It's pretty good because you can just keep on blinking it with this card. I really like it. I like making tokens of this and just keep blinking my stuff, giving me a whole crap ton of value. And then we have Rock's Faithmender. It's a 1/5 lifelink. So with this, I usually try to cast this after I play Trostani, because after I play Trostani, then I can play this and automatically gain 5 life. And then each creature doubles my life gain, so it's pretty cool. And they do stack, so if you do happen to Bramble Sovereign this card, it does stack, so you'll gain, you know, if a creature is a 3 toughness creature, you'll gain 3, and then double that to 6, and then it goes to 12 because it's double of 6, so it's pretty cool. And we have Karmic Guide. It's just a really resilient creature, just gives you, someone say board wipes or something, for 5 mana, you get a 2/2 with flying, protects you from black, and you get to bring back something from the graveyard, to the battlefield, which is pretty cool. Thragtusk, it's pretty much what this deck wants to do. You just gain life, create tokens. Sometimes, like, I just make a crap ton of these and then gain a crap ton of life, and pair it with a couple other artifacts that I have, and it's pretty much game. Ulenvald Hydra is one of the, you know, better cards in our deck, just because it's a star, and usually by the time it's like turn 6 that we're casting this card, so we probably have Trostani on the battlefield. Even if we don't, we're just getting a free land for free. Pairing this with Bramble Sovereign is really good too. And then we have Regal Behemoth. So it's a 5/5 trample. When it enters the battlefield, you get the Monarch. The Monarch basically is, if you, at the end of each turn, at the end of your turn, you gain, or you draw a card, essentially. And then it has, whenever you tap a land for mana while you're in the Monarch, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. So it's pretty much doubles your mana too, which is a really good resource to have, especially late game. And then Brutalizer S-Arc. It's pretty much just tutor up a creature trying to reoccur something with Eternal Witness or Regal Behemoth or anything that one of my bigger creatures. That's what I usually try to do with it. Same goes for Greenwood Marasa. I'll search this card up just to get something back from my graveyard if I need to, with Brutalizer Exarch or Fierce Empath. It's a pretty good card, and so returns. It's just pretty much an E-Wit that's a 5/4, and then when it dies, you can exile it and E-Wit again. And then, obviously, we have the Sun Titan, because getting lands back from the graveyard, either that we've had destroyed or ones that we can cycle. It's really good to do that, or we can just get like our Farhaven Elves or our Sakura-tribe Elders back for free. It's really good too. So. And then, of course, we have the Avenger Zendikar. Creates 0/1s equal to the number of lands that you have on the battlefield. And then whenever a land enters, you get to put +1/+1 counter on each of those plans. Really good card. I love creating copies of this. And then casting this card right here, Regal Behemoth, because you just draw a crap ton of cards. And it just pretty much at that time, you just have all the mana to do stuff with, and your opponents really are just trying to find ways to deal with your board. And if not, they don't have a board wipe, then typically they don't really have a chance. And then this card is probably one of my other favorites in this deck. I really like this deck. It's one of my favorites, but Emira Shepherd. So it's a flying 4/4, and whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may return a target non-land permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. If the land is a plains, you may return it to that non-land permanent card to the battlefield instead. So just being able to get ETBs off this and just creating a bunch of tokens is so good. This is one of my favorite cards in this deck, and I just really like cloning it too, because when you clone it, you can just start when you start cloning it with a couple of Bramble Sovereign or what is that? The Helm of the Host. It just gets so nutty. And then of course we have Woodfall Primus. Pretty much I don't play this a lot. I kind of, if I see this in my hand, it's not really going to be played, but I just have it just in case someone has a pesky artifact or enchantment or anything that, you know, I can destroy. But yeah, it's an 8-drop 6/6 with trample. It's good. I would play it, you know, more, but I don't know. I feel like I have so much other stuff that I could be doing instead. Just kind of more win now kind of things. And of course we have the Trostani. Just a really good card. Just when it ETBs, you destroy up to 3 target non-creature permanents. For each permanent put into a graveyard this way, its controller creates a 3/3 elephant creature token. So those are the creatures, lands, enchantments. So let's go over the instance. So for the first instance, I have Swords to Plowshares. Exile target creature's controller gains life equal to its power. Basic. Just really cheap removal. Nature's Claim, just destroy target artifact or enchantment. Its controller gains 4 life. Very cheap, and you know, when you're getting 4 life like that, it really doesn't matter, because usually you're just trying to race your opponent in life gain in this deck, which is pretty cool. And then Enlightened Tutor, search your library for artifact or enchantment card, reveal it, and put it on top of your library, and shuffle your library and put it back on top of it. So that's pretty much getting us soul rings or things that draw us cards. That's what I usually use them for. Then Path to Exile. Yes, I have the best art because this is my favorite art. Just remove target creature from the game or exile target creature. They can search for a basic land, put in the battlefield tapped. And then another really underrated card in this deck is Sundering Growth. just destroy target artifact or enchantment, and then you populate. So if you do have, you know, Bramble Sovereign or the artifact, what's that artifact? Helm of the Host. If you have Helm of the Host out, and you can create tokens of big fatty creatures or Ulven One Hydras or Regal Behemoth or any of those, you can just populate one of them and just get so much value that way. Unexpectedly Absent. So this is pretty much just kind of tuck a creature that we can't really deal with away. So put target creature or put target non-land permanent into its owner's library, just beneath top X cards of their library. I really enjoy that card a lot, and just having the flexibility of putting any non-land permanent into the top of their library is really good too. And then for this, we have Beast Within, basic, destroy target permanent. Controller gets a 3/3 Beast creature token. And then for the last one, we have Momentous Fall. I really like this card in this deck. It's pretty much, every time I get this, I always try to keep up 4 mana to cast this, especially if an opponent tries to board white. Additional cost sacrifice creature. You draw cards equal to the sacrifice creature's power, and you gain life equal to its toughness. So, really cool card. I really enjoy it. And then for our artifacts, we have a Mana Crypt. I know I make my own proxies. I have 3 Mana Crypts, legit. This is just because I have so many EDH decks. So Mana Crypt, and then Skull Clamp. Target creature gets +1 -1. When a creature dies, draw 2 cards, and it's quick cost for 1. And then of course the Soul Ring at 1 for 2, and then Lightning Greaves. Just being able to, you know, give a creature a shroud and haste is pretty good. We have Selesnya Signet, so just kind of fixing. And then Blade of Cells is a really, really good card, I think, because it gives a cryptic creature a Myriad, and then the Myriad says whenever it attacks for each opponent other than defending player, you may put a token that's a copy of that creature onto the battlefield, tapped and attacking. That player or a planeswalker he or she controls exile tokens at the end of combat. So this, in conjunction with ETB, is so good because you can just get 3 of the same or a few of the other same creatures that ETB, and then even you don't really care that they go away because usually there's something like Farhaven Elf or just something that draws you a card like Elvish Visionary or Wall of Omens that just kind of like get the value right away entering the battlefield. And then Altar of Dementia, just a way to fill up a graveyard. It's just another win con essentially, or if we want to, we can fill up our own graveyard and try to get stuff back with Eternal Witness and Green Ward and Marasa as well. And then we have the Mimic Vat. Mimic Vat is a really good card in this deck, especially because whenever a creature dies, you can imprint it and then pay 3. So say for instance I get like a 6-drop, or if I get Terastodon under this, I can pay 3 and tap it instead of paying like the mana cost for Terastodon. So you can just keep on destroying like pesky permanents and for 4 mana or for 3 mana and tapping it, which is really good. And then we have Ashnod's Altar. It's just sacrifice, add 2 colors mana to your mana pool, play this ability as interrupt. So it's just pretty much basically to get to sacrifice most of my smaller things so I can play all my bigger things. And then this card is probably, I know I say a lot of cards are MVP of this deck, but this is single-handedly an MVP in this deck just because I can put this on my commander and I can gain a crap ton of life. It gains haste. I don't have to sacrifice any of them at the end of turn. It's just a really good card, but it does cost a lot to equip it. So keep that in mind. And then Panharmonicon, just another way of getting more ETB triggers for most of my creatures. So yeah. And then Aetherflux Reservoir. This card is really good. It's just like oh, I'll gain, you know, a crap ton of life. And as soon as I gain a crap ton of life, I usually try to search for this card, because when I'm playing 1v1, I usually try to gain, you know, 50 life and then search for this card, which is pretty much game over. But I just try to just one-shot my opponent. If they try to bounce it or something, I'll just, you know, pay that 50 life. Usually, average in this deck, I'm at, you know, 70, 80 life. That's just average. So being able to pay 50 life to deal 50 damage to a player or a creature is pretty good. And then another card that's pretty good in this deck is Phyrexian Processor. So when it enters the battlefield, pay any amount of life, and then for 4 and tapping it, put an XX black minion creature token on the battlefield, where X is the life paid, as Phyrexian Processor entered the battlefield. So typically for this, I usually pay like 15 to 20 life, and then I'll just gain that right back. Especially with like Rock's Faithmender, being able to just like gain double that life is ridiculous. And then another really good card in this deck is God Pharaoh's Gift. So at the beginning of your combat, your turn, you may exile a creature card from your graveyard. If you do, create a token that's a copy of that card, except it's a 4/4 black zombie and gains haste until end of turn. So another really good card in this deck, because it doesn't make you sack the creature at the end of combat. So yeah, this is, I forgot to go over it's a glare. There we go. So Trostani Selesnya's voices: whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain life equal to that creature's toughness. And then for a colorless, a green, and a white, and tap, populate. So really cool card. And then for the last little bit here, I have the Planeswalkers. So Hatali, Radiant Champion. Put a loyalty counter on it for each creature you control. Target creature gets +X until end of turn, where X is the number of creatures you control. And the 8 is you get an emblem whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control. You may draw a card. So usually, if I play this card, I'm usually embleming this the time after that I played it. So the turn after, I usually emblem, because I'll have like 4 or 5 creatures out. And when I have 4 or 5 creatures out, this gets 4 or 5 loyalty counters. And the next turn, I can just ultimate it, and then whenever a creature enters the battlefield, let's draw a card. It's a really cool card. Grok Wildspeaker, +1, untap 2 target lands, -1, put a 3/3 green beast creature token on the battlefield, and the -4, which really doesn't, I don't use the -4 hardly ever, unless I'm trying to win with like Triumph of the Hordes or something, is creatures you control get +3/+3 and gain trample until end of turn. So yeah, I don't really use that one. I pretty much primarily use it for the untap 2 target lands. And then the Garruk Pommel Hunter, put a 3/3 green beast creature token on the battlefield for +1, and then it's -3 is draw cards equal to the greatest power among creatures you control. And then it's -6 is put a 6/6 green worm creature token onto the battlefield for each land you control. I pretty much primarily just use that for its -3, and just drawing like 4 or 5 cards is pretty good, especially in this deck, where you can just get the value just replays itself by, you know, turn after that you cast it. And the last card for this deck is Elspeth Sun's Champion. It has put 3 +1/+1 or 1/1 white soldier creature tokens on the battlefield. And then it's -3 is destroy all creatures with power 3 or greater. And then you get emblem creatures you control get +2/+2 and have flying. Like I said, I primarily just use this for its +1. Sometimes I'll use it for its -3, but I can honestly tell you that I've only emblemed this maybe 2 or 3 times ever in a game of Commander, especially. But yeah, this is my Trostani Selesnya's voice deck. I hope you guys enjoyed. Comment, rate, subscribe. Tell me what deck you want me to do next. But yeah, hope you guys see you soon. Bye.